Hello and welcome. MSCI World is the go-to ETF for global diversification. Big index, many countries, simple. But when you actually test how diversification behaves, the story gets more interesting. So I built a global portfolio from 9 developed markets, optimized it properly in Python, and compared it directly to MSCI World. We're not comparing strategies here. We are asking a very basic question. If you rebuild a global portfolio yourself using real country indices, does diversification actually reduce risk or not? Everyone, including my grandma, knows MSCI World is US tilted. That's not the point. The point is how a more evenly diversified global mix behaves when you test it with actual data. So let's take a look at that properly. So please let me guide you through the optimization code without much yapping. Obviously we need some libraries and I set up a list of country indices. As you see, these are developed markets. You can extend that with emerging markets with your favorite country index. But I can already tell you as a spoiler, this is not going to change much. Anyhow, this list contains, for instance, S&P 500 for the US, FTSE for the UK, we got Nikkei for Japan, we got DAX for Germany obviously, and a couple of more developed markets. So let's execute that and pass that to the download function so we are getting price data for all these country indices starting in 25, so roughly 20 years back. Adjusting here, so we're getting the adjusted close and we're pulling monthly data. Why monthly? Because I want to get rid of noise for long-term index investing. 1 month is superior to daily data with regards to volatility and return. Then I'm just calculating returns as you see here, so I'm getting a data frame of returns. And next, this is just splitting the data set so you avoid overfitting. You know, when you run an optimization on a full data set, it doesn't tell you anything because you don't apply that on some unseen data. So I just split the data from 25 to 2020 and then apply the optimization on this training data set train and then use the optimized result, in this case weights, and apply it on the testing data starting 2020 and see what I'm getting. So optimization based on training data, results based on testing data, and then we're going to compare this to the MSCI World in the end. Splitting the data set, super important to avoid overfitting. This is an easy one. If you need the mathematics behind that, I will link a video in the video description. I went through that in detail. I'm going through that in my Python for Finance and Data Science course, so be invited to check that out. I will link that in the video description as well. So essentially, in a nutshell, this is just calculating the mean return on the training data set, then applies or calculates the covariance metrics on the training data set, and then pulls the number of elements, which are just the number of country indices, in this case 9. This function is just the objective function for the optimization, and this is the goal for this optimization is to maximize the Sharpe ratio. All right, and as you cannot maximize with SciPy or with optimization libraries or packages, you are minimizing. And how do you minimize something you want to maximize? You just put a minus in front of the result, and this is exactly what this function is doing. Taking a weights vector and then multiplies the weights with the mean return, or to be more specific, it takes the dot product of the weights vector with the mean return vector and then does the same or nearly the same for the portfolio volatility, taking the weights vector dot product with the covariance metrics and then the weights vector again on top of that with the dot product. As said, mathematical details I covered in my course and in past videos, not in scope for this video. So portfolio return and portfolio volatility. Then you set the portfolio return in relation to the portfolio volatility. This number is telling you how much return did I get for 1 unit of risk, and the higher this value is, the better. And if you minimize it and take a minus, then obviously the lower it is, the better. Now this is very important because this defines your boundaries. In this case, you just say that you want to start as a zero weight. That means you don't allow shorting. So you want to have a positive weight. This tells you want to go maximum until 40% for an index. As a spoiler, we will change this and this will give us some very interesting results. But for now, we are saying we want to invest maximum 30% in one of these indices, whatever the optimization is telling us to do. This is capping at 40% for an index. This is just a technicality, so you always want to have the weights summing up to 1, which makes sense because your portfolio components should always sum up to 1 when you sum up the weights. Then you want to set up an initial weights vector, and this is just taking equal weights for the initial guess, because you always start the optimization with an initial guess, and this is just creating n ones, in this case 9 ones, divides this by 9, and then you are just getting an equal weighted portfolio, which is the base, and then you pass this v0, which is the initial weights, to the minimize function, which is minimizing a given function, in this case the negative Sharpe ratio, on this initial guess with those boundaries and those constraints, which we just talked about. Super simple minimization objective here. Then you just brush it up, put it into a vector or a panda series, the results of the optimization, which we are now taking a look at. And the winner is the, interestingly, DAX, which is kind of ironic because this is my home base index and it is on the same level as the S&P 500. So it's saying take 40% DAX, take 40% S&P 500, take 12% of the, I think that is the Swiss index. I marked this above here, Swiss index. Take 6% of Nikkei and put the rest in the Canadian index. This is the result for the optimization. Obviously, this is super kind of volatile, right? So if you change the look back here, this will probably end up in another set of weights here. But this is not the point because the main components are of relevance for us. And what this is already telling us, it is telling us to overweight S&P 500 and Germany, DAX. Now, we got the weights and now you want to know what the portfolio actually does when you put in those weights. So you want to create a portfolio now out of 40% DAX, 40% S&P, 12% SMI, whatever, Nikkei 6% and 2% Canada. And you want to see how this portfolio would be performing. And if you want to have a striking result here, this would outperform the MSCI World. And let's take a look at that. So what this is doing is taking out testing data. So again, this data from 2020 until 2025. And then takes those returns and multiplies it, or takes a dot product with the weights vector containing the optimized weights. So you get the portfolio return based on those optimized weights. Then you just create the equity curve, which is just accumulating those returns. And then in the end, you want to see the last element of the equity curve, which is just the total return of your portfolio. So this is called multiple because this is just pulling out 1 point something. So you know out of $1, you made 1.67-ish. We will see whatever that is. Then you want to have the volatility here. In this case, you just take the standard deviation of the test portfolio and multiply it with the square root of 12. Why 12? Because we're taking monthly data, we want to annualize it, so we multiply it with the square root of 12. Then we want to have a Sharpe ratio to make those returns relative to the volatility comparable. So same logic, mean return times 12 divided by the volatility. So let's see what we're getting here. we got 1.8. So in 2020 until 2025, out of $1 you would have made $1.8. So a return of 81% roughly. With a volatility of 0.15 with a Sharpe of 0.72. Doesn't tell you anything until now if you don't compare it to our benchmark. And our benchmark in this case is the MSCI World with this super strange symbol here. But what I'm doing here, and this is important, I'm pulling data from the test period on, which is 2020, because otherwise you cannot compare it here. So if you change your testing period, you also have to change your comparison period in the MSCI World, or you are less lazy than I am and just make this parameter flexible and always bound it to the testing parameter here. Monthly data again, calculating the percentage change, and then you're getting the MSCI data. And then you basically do exactly what I did here on the MSCI World. And let's take a look at that and see what we're getting. And as you see, we're getting close to the same multiple. But what is the striking thing here now is we are achieving the same return on less volatility. So our portfolio, our optimized portfolio, is getting a better return, or the same return for less volatility. And you also see that in the Sharpe ratio. So this is the Sharpe ratio for the MSCI World, but this is the Sharpe ratio for our portfolio. Now, is that structural? Is that by chance? Who knows? The only way to find out is by shifting those periods here and see if that is stable, if that is telling you the same story if you change that. So if you put that from 2010 until 2020 and keep this as it is for now, and run the optimization again with 40%. And now you already see there is some, how can you say that, some pattern observable here. Again, it is pulling or putting the maximum weights into the S&P 500. The DAX is at this point only 2%. So the DAX is volatile with regards to this optimization, but the S&P 500 stays at the top. And this is one of the most interesting findings until here. And this will even go more pronounced when I go over the next steps. So bear with me a bit. So you see Nikkei here again, pretty high. Swiss index also seems to be a good bang for your buck in this case. And again, the DAX. So let's take a look at that, how this is looking like. And again, we get 1.81. We get a even lower volatility and a pronounced Sharpe. This won't change because it's the exact same thing. And again, for less volatility or for fewer volatility, we're getting the same return. So we built a better portfolio than the MSCI World, playing around with those parameters. Now the important part. What happens if we loosen the diversification and let the optimizer allocate up to 60% in a single country? For that, I'm just amending the bounds to 60 so it can allocate 60% to a single country index. So let's execute that and see what we are getting. And surprise, surprise, the optimizer immediately shifts heavily into the United States. And also, if we execute this one here, the results jump to a final multiple of 1.9 with a lower volatility, even lower than the MSCI World. So you got a better return for less volatility. In other words, the optimizer behaves exactly like the MSCI World. It overweighted the US the moment it was allowed to. And this explains MSCI World perfectly. MSCI World doesn't get its efficiency because it's globally diversified. It gets it because it's mostly the United States. And it totally makes sense, right? The US offers higher long-term returns, lower volatility than most other countries, deep liquidity, global mega cap exposure. So when you force diversification, performance becomes a bit, smoother. But the moment you let the optimizer choose freely, it immediately recreates MSCI's behavior. It puts most of the weight in the US because statistically, that's where the strongest risk-adjusted returns come from. So the takeaway is simple. MSCI World isn't truly diversified, but it behaves efficiently because the United States dominates global equity markets. It's not magic, it's just structure. Thanks for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in upcoming videos. Cheers, bye bye.